As sports fans, we're always trying to look for and predict the next team that is on the rise. And if you weren't paying attention to what's going on down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, you might have missed the beginning of something special. The North Carolina football program has quickly transformed themselves from a team that won 2 games to a team that is now projected by many to be a sleeper. But what is their case for being on the rise? And how did we get here? In today's video, we'll be attempting to answer those questions about the North Carolina football team. Since the turn of the century, UNC's football team has been a very respectable program. Up until 2019, UNC had 4 different head coaches in John Bunting, Butch Davis, Everett Withers, and Larry Fedora. Bunting had a decent tenure lasting from 2001 to 2006, but he only made 2 bowl appearances in those 6 seasons. Butch Davis really got the team rolling, and in his second season in 2008, the team won 8 games, starting their streak of 9 straight winning seasons. Davis left the program after 2010, and Everett Withers took over for just 1 season in 2011, winning 7 games. But it was Larry Fedora who took the program to a new height. His tenure lasted from 2012 to 2018, and in 2015, the Tar Heels won the ACC Coastal Division as well as 11 games on the season, which was their most since 1997. The run that North Carolina went on was impressive. From 2008 all the way to 2016, the Tar Heels didn't have a losing season, and if they weren't ineligible for the postseason in 2012, they would have made a bowl game in each of those 9 seasons. But it soon came to an end, as in Fedora's final 2 seasons at North Carolina, the team won a combined 5 games. With that, Fedora was let go, and the Tar Heels were looking for a guy to bring them back to some form of consistent winning. Ultimately, UNC hired former Texas head coach Mack Brown to lead the program after he took a 5-year absence from the coaching scene. He brought in Phil Longo to be his offensive coordinator and Jay Bateman to be his defensive coordinator, with Tommy Thigpen as co-defensive coordinator. Brown was familiar with the region, as he was also the head coach for the Tar Heels back in the late 80s and early 90s, but with taking a long time off from coaching and the program starting freshman quarterback Sam Howell, it was going to be interesting to see how UNC would perform. They were projected to finish 6th in the ACC Coastal Division, but they quickly outplayed those expectations. They kicked off the season with a win over neighbor South Carolina and then defeated Miami the following week. The next 3 weeks, they lost all 3 games by 1 possession, including a 1-point loss to Clemson, but over the next 5 weeks, UNC won 2 games, and in the 3 games they lost them all by 1 possession again. But the Tar Heels would finish the season with 3 straight wins, including a 40-point Military Bowl victory over Temple. So finishing at 7-6, North Carolina finally got back to a winning record. But how is a 7-6 team on the rise? Let's dive deeper. So that freshman quarterback that we mentioned earlier, Sam Howell, played very great in his first season. The team didn't necessarily need him to play great as a freshman, but he did just that and led the team. Immediately, he showed his promise, throwing for 2 touchdowns in each of the team's first 3 games with over a 60% completion percentage and no turnovers. He didn't throw an interception until the 4th game of the season, and even in that game, he threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. When his team needed him to step up, he was right there embracing the challenge. In the game against Clemson, he didn't play great by the box score, but he kept North Carolina in the game by keeping the ball safe, and pioneered a drive at the end of the game to put North Carolina in a position to win. In the 6 overtime loss against Virginia Tech, he threw for 5 touchdowns and 348 yards with no interceptions. He just got better as the year went on and topped his performances from the week before. In his final 5 games, Howell threw 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 1,500 yards, and had a completion percentage of 65.7. So for context, that was 42% of his touchdowns and 41% of his yards in the final 5 weeks of the season. Quarterback play goes so far in college football. It can be enough to carry a team to the top 10, or bad enough to hinder a team from going further. He has at least 2 more seasons as the starting quarterback for the program, and he should only get better. And with him as the starting quarterback, this team will more than likely get better too. But the team as a whole outside of the quarterback situation is deep. Of course, the quarterback is going to make a team go, but you need talent surrounding him. And UNC has that, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The good thing about this team is that they are young, and a lot of their key contributors will be around for at least another season or 2. The Tar Heels are expected to return 10 of their 11 starters on the offensive side of the ball. The team has a great 1-2 punch in running backs in Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. Both running backs averaged more than 5 yards a carry in 2019 and finished in the top 6 in rushing yards in the ACC. The talent in the backfield easily gives them one of the best rushing attacks in the conference. The team's 2 leading receivers, Daz Newsome and De'Ami Brown, also returned for the squad, and like the 1-2 punch at running back, the 2 at receiver are just as deadly. Both finished in the top 6 in the ACC in terms of receiving yards, and Brown had a staggering 20 yards per reception. So with all of the main pieces from their talented offense that scored 33 points per game last year, and with Howell continuing to get better, that average could go up. Defensively, this team ranked at 44th in the nation in terms of points allowed, and although they lost a few starters from the squad last season, they look to be okay. They have a couple of 4-star athletes coming in on defense to replace those guys, with the biggest being defensive end Desmond Evans, defensive tackle Kedrick Binley-Jones, and safeties Cameron Roseman-Sinclair and Ja'Cories Conley. Looking further into the coaching staff, there are few coaches in the nation with similar experience as Mack Brown has. Brown has previously worked as the head coach at UNC as stated prior, but his biggest success came when he was at the University of Texas. His head coaching tenure lasted from 1998 to 2013, and the Longhorns only had one losing season. There was a point where they had 9 straight seasons where Texas had double-digit wins, which is just insane, but it shows the excellence that Brown strives for with each of his teams. And in just one season back at North Carolina, that was felt. The team, although they went 7-6, were competitive in every game they played. They lost every single game by one possession, and that's really great for a young team that is continuing to grow. Were some of the losses disappointing? Of course. The team dropped games to Appalachian State and Wake Forest early in the season that really hurt, but they made progress from one season to the next. But Brown's impact at the university goes much deeper than just on-the-field performance. In just a short amount of time, Mack has already seen his football facilities be upgraded, where there's been renovations done to every player's locker. He has also made a promise to win at North Carolina with strictly North Carolina kids. He has vowed to put Tar Heels assistants in every single one of the state's 411 high schools every year in order to put themselves in a position to prevent outside schools from gaining the in-state talent. And North Carolina has a lot of football talent. His ability to recruit is just remarkable. He's been able to pull in some of the highest rated recruits in his time at UNC, and he's even pulled guys away from other schools. For example, Sam Howell had already committed to Florida State, but he eventually decommitted and committed to North Carolina. Now he's the Tar Heels starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. Also, North Carolina got Drake May, a 4-star quarterback, to flip from Alabama to North Carolina, giving them another threat at quarterback for when Howell leaves. The 2020 recruiting class finished at 19th in the nation, giving them the best recruiting class they've had in a decade, and they signed 4 of the top 6 players from North Carolina. In the 5 recruiting classes from 2013 to 2017, the Tar Heels signed just 8 top 5 prospects in the state of North Carolina. Brown signed 1 in 2019, 3 in 2020, and has 2 committed for 2021. And their 2021 class ranks at 2nd in the nation currently, which features 11 4-star recruits. This class has potential to be better than the 2019 and the 2020 class, and it could be the one that catapults North Carolina to national status. There were doubts that Mack Brown's age and time away from the game would hurt him, but if anything, that break has helped him. He stated that the 31 straight years of non-stop college football grew tiring for him, and the break gave him a spark that he needed. He's been active more than ever before in terms of game planning, recruiting, and coaching. North Carolina has the potential to be the next football program that is on the rise. They currently check off all of the boxes on the checklist, and with a good quarterback, a good head coach, a board that believes in the head coach, and good recruiting, this could be just the start. You add on to the fact that the ACC Coastal Division has been won by every single team in each of the last 7 seasons, and this division is up for the taking. But, as always, only time will tell if North Carolina football is truly on the rise, or if they will remain where they are. This has been a video on North Carolina. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new, and as always, I will see you guys next time.